Hi there, students. To justify, a verb. Justification, the noun. Okay, to justify means to give a good reason for something, or to be a good reason for something. So, do you think it's possible for us to justify buying a new car? It's incredibly expensive. Are you sure that the new measures introduced into the company are justified, are reasonable? Okay, so to justify, to demonstrate that something is right, to demonstrate that something is valid. He is very angry, and I think his anger is justified by the circumstances. I think any normal person would be angry. So this is justified. This is something that is reasonable. So to justify, to warrant, to explain, to support, to validate, to confirm. So if you justify a decision or an action, it means to show that it is reasonable, to show that it is necessary. There is nothing that can justify a war, in my opinion. The decision was justified as a result of the economic conditions that we were experiencing, to explain, to support, to bear out. Okay, this is to justify. How can they justify paying such a huge salary? How can they show that something is reasonable? To provide an adequate explanation for, to give proof, to defend, to explain by reasoning. He tried to justify why he was late with a lame excuse. The Prime Minister must justify his actions. I think what he did was unjustifiable. It was impossible to justify. How can you justify the destruction of such a beautiful old building? Okay, so how can you prove that this is a reasonable thing to do? We always justify our actions with noble sounding reasons, with noble sounding theories. The police must justify their use of tear gas in this demonstration. I hate it when people ask me to justify myself. I think I make my decisions, and I do my best. So do you think the ends justify the means? Do you think the objective justifies how you do it? So if you've got a very noble objective, is it okay? Is it justifiable to do it by any means you want? It's impossible to justify being rude to people. So to justify, to show that something is right, to show that something is reasonable. Now notice as well, to justify in printing or on a page, a word page, is to format a paragraph of writing so that all the lines begin evenly with a straight margin, so all of the words go to this margin and it looks nice, and you can read it easily. But that's much more technical. You'll probably find a button saying justify in your text corrector. Okay, so to justify, to prove that something is valid, to vindicate. His behavior justifies our suspicion. He was justified in taking the money because it was owed to him. So to justify, to prove, to provide an an acceptable explanation for it. I don't think it's possible to justify spending £300 on a meal. Okay, nothing can justify your rude behaviour yesterday. I didn't invite these people, and I think I have no need to justify myself for not inviting them. So notice, to justify oneself, you could give good reason for what you have done. It was the only thing I could do, and I have no reason to justify myself to anybody at all. Do you think you can justify capital punishment, executing people for certain crimes? Okay. If you go on a business trip, if you want to claim back your expenses, you're going to need to justify them with receipts, and to explain why it is reasonable to use them. To show that something is reasonable, it's right, that it's true. My fears were justified when I saw what happened. Okay, so to justify, to prove that it's right, to prove that it's something that is worth doing. He was asked to justify his actions. Did the circumstances justify the use of violence? Okay, so origin. Let's see, Middle English, justifian, from Old French, justifier, from Latin, justificare, or justus, meaning just, and ficare, make. So justificar, just, ficare, make. So to make just. Justify, formality. I think I'm going to give it a 5 in formality. I think you can use it anywhere. So, justify.